When's the last time you looked at your bathroom? Second thought, you might not want to make eye contact with that old faucet. It's time to head to Lowe's for some home improvement. Choose from stylish brands like American Standard, Delta, and Style Selections, and transform your before bathroom into an amazing after bathroom. Woohoo! You can't see her, but she's high-fiving herself. Don't just do it yourself. Do it for yourself. Stop by Lowe's or visit lowes.com/DIFY for vanities starting at $99. Valid through 3/31 U.S. only.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
This is Rocky Romero of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and you are listening to the Super J Cast. Woo! Asuka.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Super J-Cast. I'm Joel Abraham, joined by Damon McDonald's. Damon, it is February 17th, so 3 days removed from Valentine's Day. How was your Valentine's Day? Did you have a romantic one?
No, just did absolutely zero. Nothing. I have a lovely wife who does not give a single shit about the Valentine's Day. So it's just a day. We don't even acknowledge it in this house. What do you think of that? So no, we did nothing. What did you do?
I got bitten by my mother-in-law's dog and spent the evening in A&E at the local hospital in the arse end of nowhere. And it's not a huge city I'm in at the moment. It's a small town on the border, right on the south of Thailand, on the border with Malaysia. There's a place called Padang Besar. You can look it up if you want. So. We're not exactly talking the most high-tech medical facilities here. So, I spent most of my evening there getting treatment for that, getting some rabies and tetanus shots.
My God.
Yeah, that was my Valentine's Day.
Oh, my God. Is that, now, if you don't mind me asking, do they still shoot the like back in the day when you were a kid, when I was a kid anyway, back in the olden times, they would say if you got rabies, you had to get shots in your stomach. That's where you got the. Like, how do they do it now?
It was just shoulder, in the shoulder. But I need to have. Well, I have one follow up today. I've got to have 2 more follow ups in the coming weeks. Oh. I thought you were going to ask, did the dog have to be shot because it bit me?
Well, that was my next one.
No, apparently the dog has had its vaccinations and everything.
Okay.
My mother-in-law apparently did that herself because there's no vets around here. The dog was just playing. The dog's called Cheyenne, iced tea. So the dog was just playing, like chasing me and Esther around the garden, and it just gets a bit too enthusiastic and jumped up and just nipped me on my arm, my tricep area, and drew blood. So I thought better to be safe than sorry. But yeah, it wasn't an act of malice on the dog's behalf. So the dog is fine. The dog has not been shot. Don't worry.
Okay. I'd worry about this. I worry about both. But everybody's okay. That's terrible. That's terrible news. I guess no romantic. Because I look forward to those Instagram posts from you. You know that. So it's a highlight of my day when I see all the delicious dishes that you dine on. And I figured Valentine's Day would be a special. You'd have some fucking wild boar ravioli with some fucking crazy thing. I didn't really see it this time.
Yeah, we had a nice meal. We went to basically the only sort of proper restaurant. There's a Tesco supermarket about 50 minutes drive away, and they've got a restaurant called MK, which is a Thai chain of hot pot restaurants. So we had hot pot for lunch, which was quite nice. We got half and half. It's like we had a Japanese style one, so half of it was tonkotsu broth, and the other half was Japanese sukiyaki broth. And of course, neither of them tasted anything like. This is a problem with well-travelled people like me and you, David. When you've had real tonkotsu, as we did over a year ago, the day before, the day of Wrestle Kingdom 14, then it's very difficult for me to sit in this Thai hot pot restaurant and order this thing that's supposed to be tonkotsu and taste it and be anything other than completely outraged how far short it falls of what I expect tonkotsu to be. But there you go. I'm a spoiled little boy.
Hey, listen, at least you get to compare. I guess if you look on it that way, at least you have the opportunity to be able to compare. I got my first vaccine yesterday. I was officially vaccinated, and then I go for my second shot in 2 weeks. So moving right along, Joel. Me and Cheryl just got it. So
any hilarious side effects?
I
Do you
mean,
wanna make some
everybody
up just for the purpose of entertainment.
right. I'm hallucinating right now. Actually, it may
Very
be
strong urge to vote for Democrats.
right.
Again.
It's amazing. I will say this. I will absolutely say this, and without hesitation. It had the potential to be the biggest clusterfuck of anything because it was run by the government, right? And the state of New Jersey specifically. It had the opportunity to be the biggest fucking mess ever. And I am proud to say that this was maybe the most efficient process, rivaling that of Narita Airport, right? In efficiency and swiftness and people having a clue of what's going on. And like, there was no one walking around that had a look on their face like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, right? So we get there, and it's a converted shopping mall. So this vaccination is in a big shopping, like an anchor store. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but it's called Lord and Taylor. So it'd be like a Macy's or like a like a big store, right? But it's empty. So they convert it. Everything is gutted from this Lord and Taylor's, and it's now a massive vaccination spot. So we had an appointment. Right? You had to make an appointment, get an appointment, all this stuff, almost like a lottery. And then based off of need, and because Cheryl's parents are very, very sick, and so she actually qualified as a caregiver. And me too, shockingly enough. So we get there, Joel, and we had a 9 o'clock appointment. And we get to the mall, and there is a line from here, wrapping around the building. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm going to be here forever. This is going to be just the clusterfuck in my mind. So we wait in line. And we were probably in line maybe 15 minutes. And this is a super long line. And people were there kind of like giving people instructions of what to expect, what to do, what they needed, what they had to have out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We get there just efficient, and like you had to go to certain stations, and then they moved you to another station, then they moved you to another station. Just, for the check-in process, for the expectation process. And then the next thing you know, you're sitting down, you got your shot, and then you wait 15 minutes. They put you in another section where you're waiting 15 minutes just to make sure nothing happens. And then you schedule your second dose. And it was like clockwork. I couldn't believe how I was so proud of them because it was efficient and unbelievably great. So if anything, as much as this country has fucked this up, this was a proud moment, nonetheless. The fact that we had to get one was a little crazy, but okay, we finally got it. Here we go. We're a proud moment for the US of A.
I feel this podcast is becoming an important historical artifact that people are going to ponder over for years. You can track the pandemic from me being in China, being stressed out about it and thinking, it's probably just going to be sort of localized to where I am, and then it becoming this big global thing that fucks up the whole world, to you catching it and then you getting vaccinated. It tells quite a story, doesn't it?
It's amazing. And then you figure, Esther being born and just the whole lockdown and the, you not being able to get, yeah, I don't understand why, like, CNN or, a major news organization has not tracked this story through our podcast. because it was in your backyard, for crying out loud. And it is an amazing thing. Pro wrestling scoops and interesting takes and funniness, and the fact that we are fucking great at this. Over and above that, you have a historical timeline of this fucking COVID nonsense. Yeah, it is amazing.
So
Why
you
aren't
just
we
mentioned
rich?
the scoops
Why aren't we
there.
rich from this? Why?
I know it's not fair because we haven't started a Patreon because I'm firmly against capitalism. So this podcast is always going to be free because I'm an anarchist at heart. I've just been watching a lot of YouTube videos by this guy called Thought Slime, and it's it's starting to change the way I think about things. So this is a free podcast, and enjoy it. I hope it brings a little bit of enjoyment to your lives. You mentioned the scoops there, Dave. I think we officially need a victory lap stinger. I'm not, because I just finished playing Final Fantasy VI on the Super Nintendo. I'm nominating the victory jingle from that to be our victory lap stinger. So I'm going to get in touch with Dan and have that inserted right now. As we take a victory lap for the Finjuice appearance in Impact Wrestling. Who knew, Damon? Dropping a few breadcrumbs in there, and just mere hours after the podcast went live, we saw David Finlay and Juice Robinson appearing in Impact Wrestling. Now, I haven't seen the match myself. From what I've heard, it's a nice little 5-minute match, what you'd expect from Finjuice. A bit more of a traditional wrestling match to the Kenta offering from AEW Dynamite that we saw a week ago. But it does raise questions about the movement in the industry as a whole. Dr. Gary says, does the Forbidden Door... Oh, no, actually, I'm not going to ask you. First of all, thoughts on Finjuice in Impact, Damon. Do you think that's a good move for them? And do you expect others to follow suit?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be a long-term thing. It feels like, it's a quick hit. Once quarantines are lifted and they're able to travel a little bit more and get back to Japan. But everybody's got to make a buck or two, right? I don't have any problem with it. I don't. It is kind of exciting, isn't it? I mean, just to have that idea of the guys that you follow now hopping over to a promotion. Let's see what happens. You do get opportunities for matches that you may not have had the opportunity to have seen. So I don't think there's any negative to it. I mean, they're on American TV. I mean, it's access. That's where they were before, right? So no. I mean, if anyone could give me unless they went out there and jobbed, in 2 seconds to some tag team I can't even name, then no, there's no downside to this.
Were you surprised, given the history between Impact and New Japan Pro Wrestling, that there apparently was a bit of soreness over the way that Okada was treated when he was on excursion there?
Yeah, that seems like it was I mean, I know that memories still hold true, but it seems like that was a long, long time ago. And completely different management, and it was a long time ago. I don't know what the working relationship with Don Callis wound up being at the end with him leaving. I'm assuming it was okay. I mean, I know people kind of poke fun at some of the situations that he got himself into when it came to travel and such, and getting to shows on time. But aside from that, I haven't heard a bad thing about Don Callis, even though he did rip me personally on a Tokyo Dome show. But I think it's a good thing. If guys can get work, guys can get work. I did want to kind of double back a second on one point, though. I love the fact that we break things, like we knew, obviously, on the show and not on Twitter. Like, we didn't say a fucking peep on Twitter. I love that. You got to listen to the show. I feel like that's my new thought process in all this. Like, if we get anything and if we want to share it, we share it here. And because Twitter I don't even know if that results in any more listeners. I don't know if all it does is result in more headaches for us. Like when we break something on Twitter, you know what I mean?
And then it ends up on Reddit, which doubles the number of headaches because whatever you said immediately gets taken out of context. Like, for example, Jay White's contract is up. There's a 50... Well, the company thinks it's 50-50 that whether he stays or goes becomes... Super J-Cast said Jay White is signing with WWE. And,
right.
Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. It's not worth it. What do we get out of it?
Nothing. We get headaches, and we get stress, and we get anxiety, and we get I don't feel good when that happens. So the people who listen to the show, they know. They already know. They're the smartest.
And sorry, if you're listening to the show and we do drop something, don't put it on Reddit because they don't deserve it.
They don't. I mean, here's the thing. You can do whatever you want. I mean, what are we going to say? You can't do it. I mean, but we don't care if you do it. You know what I mean? Like, we don't give a shit. I mean, honestly, I don't think I've posted anything on Reddit, period, in years. Like an actual post. I may have commented on something, but it's been years since I've even posted anything on there.
I think you have to cultivate that particular audience. I know Keeping It Strong Style do a lot of hard work. They've kind of made Reddit their thing, so it's they get a lot of positive engagement from Reddit, but I don't have the time or the energy to do that, unfortunately.
I'd rather be the best podcast than have upvotes. I gotta be honest. I'd rather have the office contacting us than getting upvotes. I'd rather have what we have. I'm perfectly content with that. Thanks.
What are we talking about again? Oh yeah, Finji.
I
suspect they won't be the last, and it seems that there's kind of free movement of labour between these companies right now. And as I've said many times before, I'm a big fan of the Tama's Island podcast, and just the amount of trash talking coming from Mr. Tamatonga, I would be shocked if he and his brother did not appear on one or more of those shows at some point in the future. Obviously, they're in Japan right now, but I wouldn't bet against them popping up on Dynamite or Impact, maybe even as IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. So I don't think Finjuice are going to be the last people from New Japan appearing on either of these shows.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Again, you want to make sure that you're used properly, and there's a mutual benefit. But yeah, I mean, right now I don't see anything. If their home base is the United States, you would think that you would see that. I think one of the more interesting, and again, speculation, is like the homegrown Japanese talent making a little making waves here, and vice versa. Right? I mean, I know that wrestlers love to drop little breadcrumbs, and who knows even if he's going to hold on to this fucking title for much longer. But when Tanahashi starts yapping away about, look at where I can take this fucking title, or watch me, it does raise an eyebrow or two of, okay. And Tanahashi is a guy.
Someone who would just... Tanahashi's a guy who would just say whatever pops into his head to stir up the most controversy. So I would take that with a pinch of salt myself. But again, he is no stranger to the AEW people. There's a lot of hoo-ha about him sending his birthday greeting to Jericho, and he was the person who came up with the Forbidden Door phrase. So yeah, it wouldn't stun me. And of course, there was Dave Meltzer talking about the possibility of Okada appearing on Dynamite at some point in the future. We know that Okada is a big fan of the Young Bucks. He seemed to have a really good relationship with them when they worked together. So, of course, he worked one of the central matches at All In back when that happened. So
oh my God,
that one seems like an inevitability at some point that Okada would be making the move over there to appear on their show. When do you think that would be, Damon, if at all?
I think before the end of the year. What do you think of that? I think before the end of this year.
Yeah, it wouldn't stun me. I mean, all bets are off at this point, aren't they? I guess it would just have to be during a period of time where he is not needed by New Japan. I mean, judging by his recent output, you could argue that.
Could be tomorrow.
Go now, mate.
Yeah,
I've got a main event, Osaka Joe Hall against Evil. Don't worry about that. It's fine. We'll sort something out.
Well, we'll figure it out. All right, your bags packed? Oh, no? We packed them for you. Okay. Bye. Sorry, I'm taking a big swig of drink. Yeah, I mean, when do they usually do that U.S. tour? In the summertime, right? When they would hit like Philly and Boston, and I know that one was in maybe more autumn-ish, but like September-ish. Might be. Well, G1. All right, so what's the deal with the fucking Olympics? I keep forgetting.
I think that's off at this point. I will be stunned if the Olympics takes place this year, but
they're not going to move
in
G1.
In spite of that, I don't know.
You don't know?
Maybe the G1 bookings have already been made. Maybe they already have that plan for October. So who knows?
Right. So if it is, I mean, summertime's a great time in the United States East Coast. Just saying, right? By that point, again, I'm speculating based off of, we're gonna have a decent amount of people. They're letting people back in arenas, Joel. Just FYI, like not full capacity, like and there's a lot of hoops that people have to jump through to get in a building to watch live sports. But there are pockets of this country where if you wanted to go see an NBA basketball game, or if you wanted to go see NHL hockey,
or a Fozzy concert,
or a Fozzy concert, or have your wife show up at a never mind. You could have rally. I'm gonna rally. Ugh. You can have.
I love the way that popped up, and we're all supposed to be like, "You're joking." I can't believe it. Not
right. Oh Lord. Here's another thing. He's sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, I hope these fucking pictures don't get. Oh my God, I hope these fucking pictures don't get." You know what I mean? And then, boop. Will you shut up on Facebook, please? Jesus Christ!
It's no worse than the financial receipts that we saw popping up on WrestleNomics several months ago. So, someone shared that with me. The thing about his missus, and I was just like, "Yeah, and."
Right. Well, listen. I mean, whatever. So, anywho, what were we talking about, Joel?
Let me throw a question at you. Dr. Gary says, does the Forbidden Door being open actually benefit New Japan? Kenta and AEW, Finjuice and Impact, etc. But does New Japan actually need anyone in reverse aside from rehashing old stories? Omega, Okada took my enjoyment of New Japan to the next level, but I'm not sure I want to see it again. So, Damon, lay out for us, if you will, what New Japan are getting out of this.
Oh, I think New Japan. Look, we people love to take swings at us for busting on Kenny Omega's balls, and I don't think there's. Joel, I think we're in agreement. I mean, Joel, Kenny Omega was one of your favorite pro wrestlers at one point.
I mean, I still love watching him wrestle as well.
Right.
There's no knock on his ability as a wrestler. He's incredible. Like, sometimes his out of the ring shenanigans can, be a bit eye rolling. But I've said multiple times over the last few weeks, if there's a possibility to get him back and work a big match with Ibushi, for example, do it. Why not? Why would you not do that? I think. I mean, I can understand why some more hardcore New Japan fans are not so keen on that idea. I mean, I can only speak for myself and say I want to see it. So, yeah, I'm not gatekeeping by any means, saying, I don't want these guys in New Japan. Like I say, it can be the people who are throwing up these. Right.
They can't just jump in exactly I would want. Ideally, I would love to see some things tweaked, right? But the idea of Kenny Omega walking out after a G1 or before a G1 and having him plop his goofy ass in that tournament, it would be fan-fucking-tastic. Are you kidding me?
Right, and dare I say it, Damon, after these two New Beginning in Hiroshima shows, neither of us were like, well, that is perfect. This
Right.
is the ultimate product here. There's nothing I want to change. No one new I want to bring in here. I'm loving every second of this.
Right. That, I mean, we're in the midst of some of the driest of toast in the history of this fucking company, it feels like. Yeah. So the idea of that being a spark and an energy, and trust me, it would be. You can't sit here and say that you wouldn't be a new level of excitement for it, for pro wrestling in general. So Kenny would probably be top of my list. I mean, and again, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but I'll take the majority of same, sure, and I'll take the Bucks. Come on, they're good. They are. They're good. Do I want to see Best Friends? Okay, probably not. Right. I mean, there's. I would have no problem just bringing in those three guys and to add a little bit of spice.
Right, and the point is, you get the big names in the big spots, and I think you will see tangible growth in things like New Japan World subscriptions, or if New Japan start running events in the US again in the future, then a bit of partnership with AEW will see those ticket sales bump, because they weren't exactly flying off the shelf for like the G1 in Dallas, for example. And if you don't believe that throwing a Kenny Omega or Young Bucks or even Cody, who I've not exactly his biggest fan, but I am fully aware that if you throw those names on a show like that, then you sell a lot more tickets than New Japan sold without them.
Right. And again, this is all with a little asterisk that says, okay, we need to make sure this is mutually beneficial. We don't want to look like total boobs. We don't want to look like second tier. And I don't think it would be. I think, look, you sat here a couple weeks ago and said, I've been salivating for a proper invasion angle all of my pro wrestling life. And I think the people that are involved in a potential here, one, absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? So now we have the distance, and we have a little bit of even rivalry built, and I don't want to say hatred, but there is that little side-eyed kind of fuck you AEW, and AEW fans kind of doing the same thing back, and there's this little built-in rivalry. Look, if this happened, it has the potential to blow the fucking roof off the joint. Because the people that are running the shows, the one thing that we have that is over and above everything else is we have pro wrestling people that are pro wrestling fans that understand the history of pro wrestling, that are going to make these decisions and hopefully not make the same dumb mistakes that other companies have made. That's what we have. We have the potential here, and that's exciting for me. Now, imagine if there's some way that Impact were involved in this. And it feels like they are with Kenny kind of holding this title and making a scene there, holding the AEW title and popping in with Don so there's already that built in. So, I don't know. Like, the potential is there for some really great fucking moments. And I feel like everybody can benefit from it. From Impact to AEW to New Japan. Imagine some of those fucking shows in front of, a ravenous crowd. It has the potential to be awesome. And I don't know. I don't see a lot of draw. Look, and to add to that, Joel, it's not like everybody's rolling in the bucks. Pardon the pun. It's not like everybody's rolling in the money. Everybody's looking at each other, and they're looking at their bank balance, and they're looking at, okay, another non-profitable month, Okay, we can't run shows here. Okay, half capacity. Everybody's doing the same thing. They got to make up for lost time. They need something big. They need something big more than we need something big. Keep your eye on the summer. Keep your eye on the summer.
Yeah, and it's quite hard to transition from that into talking about Road to Castle Attack because when your text rolled in for me like 6 a.m. this morning, hey, do you want to do a show? And I was like, oh, fuck, that means I've got to watch 4 Road 2 shows today. But I did it. I held my nose. They weren't bad, let's be fair here, but they were a bit of a struggle to get excited about them after what was a disappointing new beginning in Hiroshima. The attendances are pretty low. The night 2 in particular... God, there was like 300 people there, and I know there are mitigating circumstances, state of emergency, pandemic, second show of a 4 stretch at Korakuen. It was on a Monday, I think, so I understand all the reasons why the attendance was low, but it looked nearly like an empty arena show, so just the optics of that were not good, and the card wasn't great as well anyway. Other bits and pieces here. February 21st show in Fukushima has been cancelled due to the earthquake, so obviously all well wishes to anyone who was affected by that. I hope everyone stays safe. Definitely the right move to call that one off if the circumstances are not safe for everyone involved. I've been just reading a lot of the Voices Wrestling reviews. Neil David and J. Michael, who two probably the best writers they have on the site there, doing their reviews for these Road 2 shows. So they've been a big help because I have these shows on in the background and I try really hard, Damon, to watch these and have a take. There's got to be a take, because otherwise what the fuck are people listening to this shit for? But sometimes there isn't one. Sometimes you just watch it and it's a show that happened. So I recommend people, if you're looking for alternative viewpoints, to check out Neil and J. Michael's work there on Voice of Wrestling. So let's start off by talking about the new young lion, Yuto Nakashima. We were all excited about seeing him, and his debut lasted about 15 seconds when I think he had a dislocated elbow and something. Eric said, thoughts on Nakajima's debut? It's got to suck that your debut match lasts all of a few seconds. So yeah, he's injured now. He's going to be off the rest of the tour. And that is pretty shitty luck. I was saying on Twitter that if I were Yuya Uemura, I would be leaning into that and talking some trash and saying, like, this punk kid, he couldn't last 10 seconds in the ring with me. You stay away, get back in the dojo, don't come back here, because otherwise I'm going to break your other arm, or something like that. But he didn't. He said, hope you get better soon, I'll be waiting for you. I know he's just a young lion, so maybe he doesn't have the freedom or the flexibility to be able to say something like that, but I'm always of the opinion, if something goes wrong in pro wrestling, you try and make
positive out of it,
lemonade out of lemons. Right.
Yeah.
So, your thoughts on Yuto Nakashima's bad injury?
I mean, it's terribly unfortunate, but as you just said, if you think that New Japan's not going to lead into that a little bit, you're sadly mistaken. And whether it's, a guy touting that he put him out in 15 seconds, or a promotion saying, "Hey, you thought MMA was tough? Check out New Japan Pro." It's something that through the history of pro wrestling that people leaned into. When something like that happens in the ring, people find a way to incorporate that, whether that's in the storyline or just a promotion pushing of themselves. So yeah, it is. It did. What was it? It was just like that whole chain reversal spot, wasn't it? It wasn't even. It's amazing how people talk about high impact moves and dangerous spots and landing on their head, and I can't watch this any longer. Guy fucking had his shoulder pop out doing literally something that I feel like I could do with my wife while having sex. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really seem like it was anything that was too risky, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it wasn't even as if you got some like spectacular gifable or video shot that you could use in like a promo package when these guys main event Wrestle Kingdom in a few years' time. It was just a scramble that went wrong. But it's a shame. We're all excited about him, but we can't delve too deeply and analyse 10 seconds of ring time. So we'll have to put that one on ice. Hope he's back soon. and move on to my next talking point, which was the return of the Empire. And I've missed these boys a lot because they brought all the heat and the passion and the fire for New Beginning in Nagoya. They were the highlight of that, and it was centered all around Will Ospreay and O'Khan. And they're back. Jeff Cobb's back as well. They've got new merchandise. I don't know if you saw Will Ospreay's shirt, which
I did.
Yeah.
I mean, look. Here's the thing, though. Like, all right, I just will say this. I hate the fact that Fred Perry shirts got co-opted into this nonsense. I really like Fred Perry shirts, but yeah, it looks like that's been. Yeah, maybe now is not the time for that. If you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Read
just
your room.
reminds me of like when I used to go to Arsenal away matches, like going to West Ham away, Upton Park, walking past some of the bars there, seeing some of the characters inside and thinking, oh, maybe this was a mistake. So yeah, that's what this gear reminds me of.
Yeah.
So
Joel being nervous walking down. Oi, mate!
Oh, you gooner. You fucking gooner, mate. But yeah, the matches were fun. Ospreay selling Kojima's machine gun chops, just like Big Daddy Yum Yum. A lot of people on Twitter getting very excited about that. You know, as usual. I just like looking at the quotes. Oh, there's such a shit wrestler. It's always amusing. Just we're overselling theatrically some chops, but there you go. Gabe Kidd looking good in these matches. He just can't say enough good stuff about him. He's more and more dynamic and fiery every time I see him. He's starting to work in some new moves that I hadn't noticed before, like a second rope drop kick. He's a little schoolboy attempt on Jeff Cobb there. Yeah, you mentioned before Tanahashi saying he's going to astound everyone with where he takes the belt. Is he going to keep the belt against O'Khan? Who knows? It certainly looks like O'Khan's got the upper hand, judging by these 4 shows that I watched today. Back to back. And yeah, Jeff Cobb's back. I'm really glad to see him. It's been a while since we've seen Jeff. Great to see him just manhandling everyone, throwing Tanahashi around the ring. And in all 4 of these matches, Jeff Cobb picked up the pin in every single one of them. Now, he is not booked for anything big for Castle Attack. He's just got tag matches against various combinations of Kojima, Tenzan, Tanahashi. So that is probably deliberate. These things usually are in New Japan. So I'm thinking, past Castle Attack, what could these 4 pinfalls mean for Jeff Cobb? Are they setting something up for the anniversary show? Is he maybe being established as a dark horse for the New Japan Cup? I've said before, I'd love to see him as a IWGP heavyweight title challenger. I think he's definitely worthy of that. So definitely keep an eye on Jeff Cobb in the New Japan Cup. I think he's maybe a good shout for going deep in the competition. Great O'Khan as well, looking good. He's invited Yota Tsuji into the Empire. I don't know if anything will come of that, but there we go. The invite is there. And I've just enjoyed seeing the absolute glee of O'Khan and Ospreay and Cobb using the Mongolian chops on Tenzan, knowing that Tenzan can't return fire. And Tenzan, for his part, says that without being able to use the chops, what's the point in carrying on? So I think he might retire soon, maybe on one of an upcoming Korakuen show, maybe an anniversary show. I don't know, but it seems like he won't be sticking around for too much longer. So, Damon, your thoughts on the return of the Empire?
You're right about Jeff Cobb. I'm excited to see what title he's going to be walking out post-match and challenging for, because we know that's what's happening, right? Imagine that. Imagine. If you build up Jeff Cobb to a certain degree, you got yourself a nice monster. And our current IWGP Heavyweight Champion, correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, is tailor-made for Jeff Cobb, right? I mean, Jeff Cobb has improved tremendously in my eyes in the past year and a half. But even before that, we always talked about Jeff kind of likes to have a guy who can bump around for him and do a little bit of the crazy lifting, allowing Jeff to toss a guy around. I'm excited if that's the case, if that's the route, if that's if that's the path we're going down. Jeff Cobb, Ibushi, that would be really fucking fun. And I think he'll go deep in New Japan Cup. I think he'll go deep in New Japan Cup, sure. And again, there's 4 tag matches that he's able to pull. If he's getting a pin on every single one of them, you know they got something up their sleeves. So, yeah, it'll be fun. I like the Empire. I like the look of it. I like the look of that faction more than I like just about any other one. Maybe it's the freshness of it. But I just like who they have in that faction, and because I just find them to be very, very interesting, and the whole dynamic of it. So, and again, maybe it's the freshness of it, but for me, I'm all in on this. And I think New Japan is too. I mean, I don't think we know New Japan is too. So, and I like the fact that to a large degree, a lot of the spotlight is on what might be considered the B team of the Empire, right? It's not all on Will Ospreay. It's a lot is on Okan, and a lot is on Jeff Cobb. Even more feels like right now is on Jeff Cobb. And I like the way, for all the hand waving we've been doing lately when it comes to these multiple fucking shows at Korakuen. The booking of the Empire I've enjoyed. The booking of the Empire I think has been pretty great. I enjoy that a lot. So. If we're going to give flowers to the booking committee, I think for that alone, I think they're doing a good job.
The next person I wanted to talk about is El Phantasmo, who has been front and center on these shows, doing his heel shtick with the loaded boot and the back rakes and all of that stuff. So a lot of questions about him. Louis says, where does El Phantasmo's nipple twist move rank in the top moves of wrestling list? Sarah says, anyone else increasingly terrified that they're going to have ELP cheat to win the belt from Hiromu, thus denying us the guaranteed epic of Hiromu versus Ibushi at the anniversary show? Luke says, what is going to be the payoff to the ELP boot controversy? Putting all those shenanigans to one side, I think there have been some good signs on these 4 shows that Hiromu and El Phantasmo can have a better match than they did at Wrestle Kingdom. Hiromu actually made a little cardboard IWGP Junior Heavyweight title belt for El Phantasmo, which it didn't survive today's show, unfortunately. But I'm starting to see a bit of chemistry built up between these two guys. That makes me more optimistic for their match coming up at Castle Attack. So what do you think, Damon? El Phantasmo and his... we're going to do a full preview of Castle Attack next week, but just your early thoughts on this feud.
Well, I think everybody's concerned with what we're going to see in the ring. And let's be honest here, we haven't necessarily been blown away by what we've seen in the ring. Here's the thing, you know what you're going to get. And if that's not what gets you up in the morning, it's going to be a tough one. Right? And you know you're going to get nipple tweaks, and you're going to get back scratches, and you're going to get him walking the ropes, and you're going to get all that, and probably in spades, right? And you're going to get that. You're going to get that hand over fist. So I think you got to be prepared for that. to the person who questioned, are we going to see a title change here? Look, I think they know they have a match that people would be thrilled to see in Hiromu and Ibushi. Do you? Let's just focus on that part first, Joel. Do you think that New Japan has the guts to drop that title, put it on El Phantasmo, with the idea of we're not doing Ibushi Hiromu?
I do. I think there is...
Me too.
I would give like a 40% chance, actually maybe even higher than that, just for El Phantasmo winning the belt, just because if Hiromu wins, who's left? There aren't really any credible challenge for him. It would seem that to me that he's cleaned out the division, unless they got something else up their sleeve. would give El Fantasma actually, I'm going to, a 60% chance of winning. Yeah.
Okay. Over half, according to my math. I think I'm kind of in that ballpark. And unfortunately, it's kind of like where we were talking about with the junior tag straps, where having it moved was, easier than, now you have built-in challengers. So we'll have double champion, are you thinking? Or do you think junior junior tag titles get dropped before he picks up a win?
Well, that I think could be the biggest tip-off over which way the singles title match is going to go, because I think that the junior tag title match is in the Friday before Castle Attack at Korakuen. So if that changes hands, and I suspect it might, because they're building up quite a bit on the fact that Bushi and Hiromu have never won the junior tag titles together. I mean, Bushi obviously has held them before with Shingo, but Hiromu has never been a junior tag champion. So that could be the direction. I mean, if you're going to put the singles one on ELP and build him up and have Hiromu chasing it, then in the interim, why don't you have Hiromu holding the tag belts?
Right. Yeah. All right. So sorry, person who asked that question. Yeah. you might be disappointed. Because I mean, looking at it, it does feel like that's a strong possibility, and I think both me and Joel over 50% feeling of it's going to happen. So, I mean, look, I like the guy on on commentary. I like the guy on doing color commentating. I can't say I'm a massive fan in the ring right now. And it's not that I feel like he can't go. I mean, I think a lot of people know he can go. He's just, the style is just not for me.
When's the last time you looked at your bathroom? Second thought, you might not want to make eye contact with that old faucet. It's time to head to Lowe's for some home improvement. Choose from stylish brands like American Standard, Delta, and Style Selections, and transform your before bathroom into an amazing after bathroom. Woohoo! You can't see her, but she's high-fiving herself. Don't just do it yourself. Do it for yourself. Stop by Lowe's or visit lowes.com/DIFY for vanities starting at $99. Valid through 3/31 U.S. only.
We've seen the template for excellent El Fantasma singles matches, like the Ospreay match. Was it King of Pro Wrestling in 2019? Give me something like that, and less of the just pure shenanigans. I mean, obviously the shenanigans are going to be a part of it, but I would like to see some of his actual wrestling chops as well, because we know he's a good wrestler. We've seen him wrestle. He's had quality matches, even in New Japan. The Rocky Romero match, excellent. So they are capable of it, and I'm optimistic that they're going to have a better match around this time. Moving on to his LIJ teammate Shingo Takagi, who has 4 wins and picked up 3 pinfalls in those 4 wins in these 4 shows. Naito got the other one. But Shingo has nothing booked for Castle Attack. So, again, similar along the lines of Jeff Cobb, what, if anything, do you read into Shingo Takagi picking up 3 pinfalls in 4 shows?
Okay. What tournament we got right around the corner? Begins with an N.
And so there is a story there, because if we stick with Ibushi, then Ibushi will have beaten Naito and Sanada, and maybe if he might even beat Hiromu at the anniversary show. So we've got like a neat little story of him going through LIJ. So maybe Shingo could be the guy to stop him. Shingo wins the New Japan Cup, challenges at Sakura Genesis. There's possibilities there.
Right. I mean, listen, let's put it this way. When we have to do our little pick'ems and our brackets, I can't wait to get out my notebook for my bracket. You'd be a fool to not have Jeff Cobb, Shingo at the moving deep into your New Japan Cup. Let's put it that way.
I want to talk about Toriano versus Chase Owens. They have laid out their stipulations for their upcoming KOPW match.
I can't wait. Can I guess?
Yeah.
Can I guess? Because I don't know it. I don't know it off the top of my head. So they both asked for stipulation. I didn't know the one was a Texas death match, right? Or no, what? A bull rope match, was it?
Yes. So that was Chase's proposal, a Texas strap match where to win you have to touch all 4 corner pads consecutively.
Oh.
You will never guess, Damon, Toriano's unique twist on Chase's proposal.
Well, it's got to be fucking. He's removing the turnbuckle of some way, right? So there's
Correct.
not going to be turnbuckle. Okay.
Yeah. So whoever removes the last turnbuckle pad wins. With them strapped together. So the strap is a constant between their 2 proposals. And Yano's proposal is, I think it's up 70%. So it seems likely that we're going to have a YTR-style strap match.
Oh, God almighty. As if... I tell you what, I hated those, those bull rope or those strap matches where you had to pull them across 4 corners. I hated those growing up. Oh my God, they were my least favorite stipulation matches. Hated them. They were just touching 4 corners. So stupid. Give me a scale 1 to 10. Your excitement for the. So they have to go around to the turnbuckles will be there. They have to undo the turnbuckle. That would be the equivalent of dragging them to the corner, right?
Yeah, I think the difference would be, I don't think for Yano's stipulation you would have to remove them all consecutively. I think it's just whoever removes the last one is the winner.
Oh, okay, right. So, because in the traditional, you had to complete the fucking square. Right. And if you missed it on 3, you started over. Right. Okay. Again, 1 to 10, Joel. How hard is your cock over this thing?
I mean, usually when we get straps and... but I'm not terribly excited for this. But it's an undercard comedy Yano match. At least it's not permeating deeper down the card. If this KOPW thing just stays as the wacky Yano undercard match title, then whatever. It is what it is.
I know this is an old man complaint, but I'm going to give it anyway because I'm an old man. Old man. I hate gimmick matches without blood. If you're going to have a gimmick match, don't you need somebody? I don't know. Like, I just...
Like the Ospreay Kojima match. It's like the two ends of the gimmick spectrum, isn't it? Where that one was hard-hitting, it was brutal. The feud, I thought, merited that kind of match. And then you got the other end of the spectrum where it's wacky shenanigans matches.
Right. It's like when you have a match that incorporates a stipulation where there's a weapon involved. And I know we haven't seen it in years, trust me. I don't even know why I'm complaining about this. This is like complaining about why don't we have horses pull? I hate cars. I get it. But if you have a gimmick in the ring and it's, I don't know, I just kind of feel like you need something. All right, I'll get off it because even I'm listening to myself thinking, it's 2021. We're not bleeding, asshole. Jesus Christ. What are you, a maniac, a barbarian?
I would love it. Toru Yano versus Chase Owens for KOPW in the Yano Toru style strap match becoming an absolute fucking bloodbath. Both of them just pissing claret all over the ring. Oh my god. Humanity.
Just fucking bleeding like 2 stuffed pigs. Oh, that would be something. They just fucking Chase has got blades taped in his fucking finger. He's chopping.
Yeah, he gets a fork out, gigging the
fucking light tubes. Now that would be something. That would be something.
Shall we move on? I would like to talk to you about Tangaloa, who got the winning pinfall in the main event last night and cut the closing in-ring promo. He was the first person to get on the mic. And I cannot remember another time where Tangaloa was standing victorious at the end of a show with a microphone in his hand. I'm sure listeners are going to be like, he did it last week, arsehole. And I'm sure it's out there. But still, Yeah, he was on the mic here, got the winning pinfall. He has a singles match coming up against Yoshihashi, which we're both excited about. Do you think we should read into anything here? Do you think Tangaloa looks like he's in line for a bit of a push?
You were saying that before, right? You were saying that like the world, it's what the world wants. Singles match. Yeah, I mean, a push. I don't know, but like, does that pretty much confirm him in New Japan Cup?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Is he in New Japan Cup? And if so, how deep does he go? Do you have him? I mean, let's assume there's a 32-man field. Do you have him maybe making the last 8?
That'd be a bad idea. Wow. When you just said that out loud, I was like, wow, 32 fucking guys in this tournament? 32. Oof. Doesn't that seem like a lot?
Yes, with not being allowed to bring in people as freely as they have done in previous years,
Right.
might be a bit of a struggle.
It might be. All right. But yes, to answer your question, or at least the Sweet 16, he'll be in. But 8, yeah, I would go so far as 8. So give me your 8. Give me your 8 that you feel should be in the final 8, as I eloquently speak. So I'm saying Shingo. I'm going to say Jeff Cobb. I'll say Tangaloa. There's 3. What do you think? Do you think
Ospreay?
Ospreay? Yeah, I'm thinking people who don't have titles, because usually that's the case, right? Usually, a lot of times we don't see title holders.
What about Zach?
Zach is king of New Japan Cup.
Bit of rehab from the tag title disappointment.
Yeah,
Maybe Tanahashi?
I'm thinking you need somebody like that. Like you need a glue guy. How about Okada?
He might have commitments then. He might have some dates in Jacksonville.
He's not going to be there then. Not during New
Evil?
Japan Cup. I think Evil's in there. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, that's
Sonata?
7. If we said all right, so we'll just say Okada / Tanahashi in that 6th spot, right? Evil, okay, and I need one more. 2 more. How many do we need? I need one more.
Great O'Khan?
O'Khan.
I don't know if he will qualify. I mean, if he's a champion. That's okay. Great O'Khan. We're putting all 3 of the Empire boys in there.
Yeah. How about Taichi?
I was tempted to say him, but I think he might still be in a bit of a funk after being possessed by the demonic spirit of the Iron Fingers, which is the most compelling storyline of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
How disappointed are you with this?
2021.
Do you hate your life because of this?
Because of what?
Because of this nonsense.
It's not nonsense.
That your boy is.
It's a very compelling story, David.
Really?
I watched a movie yesterday called Basket Case with about a man who carries in a basket his ex-Siamese twin that was surgically removed from his body as a child.
What are you doing?
He opens the basket and the Siamese twin pops out and kills people. And that, I thought, was an effective and dramatic and compelling story. So my bar for good stories is pretty low. So
Oh, my Lord.
let me just clear that up. I'd strongly recommend anyone who's fans of horror movies definitely check out Basket Case. It's really good.
Do you get nightmares watching that shit? Like, do you get
I
like...
used to. I watched the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I was way too young. I was like, I don't know, about 12 or something. I really shouldn't have watched it. And that really traumatized me because it's fucking scary. It is probably my favourite film. It's right up there with RoboCop. RoboCop and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, probably my 2 favourite films. So
the classics.
I used to, but now I think I don't like seeing things that are just like torture porn or gore. I'm a little bit squeamish, but I don't think that's a prerequisite of a good horror film. And being scared and being disgusted are 2 very different things to me.
Mm-hmm. I get angry when I get scared. Like, you know how like around Halloween time they have there's haunted hay rides or shit like that, right? And people jump out and scare you, and fucking you walk through this dark hallway and somebody fucking jumps out. Like, I'm ready to swing at that point. Like, if somebody scares me, I'm throwing punches. Like, that's my natural reaction. Like, I don't like being scared. I don't. And
well, I would argue that that's being startled, not being scared. And again, that opens up a whole other debate about the value of jump scares in horror movies and whether they constitute being an effective strategy or if it's just a cheap way of startling your audience. And
is that an actual conversation?
That is. There's a really good video by Scaredy Cats on YouTube about jump scares. If anyone's interested in that, then check that out.
People, I mean, not for nothing. That's pretty. Isn't it amazing how every genre and every little thing that people have interest in, they find. I mean, that is a creative debate. I trust me. In my entire life on this planet Earth, have I ever thought of the difference between being scared and a jump scare? I've never even contemplated if there is a difference or if one of them has more merit than the other. But now that you mention it, okay, like that's amazing. Like every fucking.
I mean, anyone can do that. Just like quiet, rah! Like that's.
Right.
I don't think that requires any real skill or art to be able to pull off. But I'm not saying they have no place in the horror genre. I think when used effectively, they can be a good way of relieving tension in a film. But again, you know
my way. You know my way, relieving tension in a film. Good old Riley Reid. I had a friend who, I mean, I guess he's still my friend. I haven't talked to him in a while, but he was really into the horror stuff, like really into it. So much so that he tried to make a movie. That I don't believe ever got off the ground. But like the concept of it was pretty cool. But he would constantly promote it. Like I couldn't hear about. Like I just every time I see saw that person, it was that fucking movie. I was like, and Joel, this was years. It wasn't like 6 months. I got this idea for a movie I'm going to do. No, this was 7-10 years of hearing about this fucking movie that never got made. Oh well. All right, where are we going?
Little diversion here. I want to talk about a show because he was pinned by Dick Togo on one of these shows, but he got his win back tonight. But again, here's another person, nothing but for Castle Attack. So I was wondering why this little sort of storyline diversion with Show getting pinned by Dick and then getting his win back. Is that just they just doing that to fill up time? Do you think there is something in the works for Show? Should there be, or do you think he kind of shat the bed against Hiromu and needs to be put on ice for the time being? There was some talk about him actually being in a tag team with Master Wato, which
oh my goodness,
I don't know if anyone deserves that, but thoughts on Show?
I don't know. He's in a tough spot because I still am high on him. Like I still, but it feels like if we're trying to jump on current events, his stock has dropped.
I mean, there was a really interesting discussion on the Voice of Wrestling flagship, and they said pretty much the same thing we did. That Show and Hiromu went out and tried to have the classic 35-minute New Japan style main event, and it didn't fit either of them.
Right.
Hiromu is better suited at junior style sprints, and Show, I think likewise, he's better in a shorter, high-paced, high-intensity match, and that wasn't it. So I think there should be lessons learned from that match. But yeah, it's difficult to say what do you do with Show now because he's not really.
You wait
incredible.
for Yo. That's what you're doing. You know what I mean? That's what it kind of feels like they're doing. They're just spinning the wheels right now, waiting for fucking Yo to get back. Which I think would be a great feud. Those two. That might. I mean, unfortunately, you're going to get a Sean and Marty situation where one guy, or for a New Japan comparison, a Naito Yujiro situation. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like he's in a holding pattern. I don't know why they do that, where they feel like they have to have maybe to make a pro wrestler more well rounded. But like if we see that and we know that when we're talking about styles and really their strengths and their weaknesses and stuff like that, like how can they not see that? Like that match, and again, we're a bunch of fucking nerds talking on a podcast, and Voices of Wrestling are the same, and Keeping a Strong Style the same, and Reddit the same to a large degree. And they're not doing things to please us, or at least with the intentions to please us. But they don't see that. Like, why do they fucking try to put a square peg in a round hole?
I don't think Hiromu's terrible at it, to be fair. I'm a lot more high on him and his output than other people are. And I think if he is going to get there, like if he is going to be the next big heavyweight star and he's going to be escalated, I hate to use the word promoted, but moving up to the heavyweight division, then that is something that New Japan wants their heavyweight stars to have in their locker. They got to be able to work that kind of match. Maybe
but Hiromu's not
with a better
heavyweight.
opponent,
Really
Hiromu might be able to do it.
Do you really think he's going to be a heavyweight? The guy is not. He's just physically not big enough to be a heavyweight, and he's perfect. He's like literally reinventing the junior heavyweight division. Like, does he have to be a heavyweight? Is that the end goal? He has to be a heavyweight?
No. If it was up to me, I think just having him as the junior ace and elevating that division and making that championship a main event worthy attraction is a great goal in and of itself.
Yes. I think that's a tremendous goal. Like, he's doing things that other people have never been able to do. And he has the opportunity to do that. I mean, to force him into something that... Here's what we want for Hiromu. Here's what I want from Hiromu. Blah, blah, blah. Here's what I want from Hiromu. Main event. A massive show. As a junior. That should be the goal. Because to sit there and to shoehorn him into being a heavyweight... For what? Like, if you can get the best out of him in his most comfortable environment, why do we... I mean, I know it's a perception that there's this line in the sand of juniors versus heavies, and heavies are always going to be more important. But that's just conditioning. That's just re-education. And I don't know. And actually, this was more for show, where I was saying you're jamming him in a 30-minute main event style match that I just don't think that's his strong point.
All right, well, the last people I wanted to touch on was this whole main event scene going down with Ibushi and more specifically Naito. There was some fun stuff actually with him mocking Yuji Nagata and mocking the Blue Justice hand signals, and I just love seeing dickhead Naito. He was even doing that while Nagata was like wrenching his arm, like pulling his shoulder out of his socket. He's still doing the shithousery, which is always fun from Naito. And I was just curious about, well, first of all, Yuji Nagata being put in these main events, and Naito actually injured his knee, so he was taken off today's cards. So the tag match was replaced with a Sanada and Yuji Nagata singles match. And they had met once before. Liam from Discord pointed this out. The only other time they met in singles competition was not in New Japan Pro Wrestling, Damon. Do you know where it was?
I'll say All Japan Pro Wrestling.
It was in All Japan. Can you guess? It was quite a big stage, one of their biggest matches of the year.
What do you want? What year?
No, give me the stage. The
was it a Champions Carnival tournament?
It was a Champions Carnival final. Can you guess the year?
Christ, I'm doing pretty good. 2013?
2011, 10 years ago, when they last met in a singles match. So it was actually really good. I was impressed. I thought it would be, because I just would love to see more of Yuji Nagata in singles action. I think he's an underused commodity in New Japan. But I was just wondering the fact that he had been put in these spots in main events, if that was just, he was the only guy left over, or if there was a bit more to it than that. Maybe he's another guy who might be popping into the New Japan Cup, having a cheeky little run to the last 8. Maybe you want to throw Yuji Nagata in there. But he had, I thought it was a very good match with Sanada tonight. Some great sequences with Shingo in their tag matches in the last few days. So there was that, and also Naito. He's had a few chances to do some in-ring promos and backstage promos talking about his logic for challenging for the Intercontinental title, and after having listened to him explain himself, it makes even less sense than it did last week. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's saying like he doesn't want the belts merged. He wants to win the Intercontinental title, and then he won't defend it for 6 months, and then he's going to retire it, and he wants to be the one to retire it. But then if he wins both belts, he wants to defend it separately. It was giving me a headache trying to make sense of it. And Naito's a guy whose promos I like. Usually he sort of cuts the promos in this almost sort of calculated, logical way where he's laying out exactly what his thought processes are, and you listen to that and you think, oh yeah, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. But this was not one of them. This thing is just a big old mess.
I'd have more respect for Naito if he just went out there and said, you know what, I like the Intercontinental title because it matches my cool white jacket. You know what I mean? Like, if they just left it at that, I really just think that the fucking belt is sharp, and I like that one better. I would have more respect for this whole entire nonsense if he just said that.
Bash asks, if Naito does win the IC belt at Castle Attack, does he go after the heavy belt again and have his dreams of defending both titles separately?
Who gives a fuck?
I know, that was my response. I don't care anymore. I'm not taking it as a given that Naito wins that match. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but I'm really just sick and bored of all the discussions about the IC title and the heavyweight title, because it's boring. I don't know if you have anything to say about that, or maybe talk to me about Yuji Nagata a bit and his use in the last 4 shows, and whether you think that is a signifier of other stuff to come. Well, here's the
thing. I'll touch on both. So Yuji, here's what New Japan does that I do enjoy, is that they'll give those dads, as we like to call them, time off, put them back on the front burner. Other guys can rest up, and they don't have the spotlight on them, but they come and go, and I like that because, again, I think Nagata can fucking still go. Like, he could, of all of them, I feel like he's one that I thoroughly enjoy, and even Kojima too. The fucking belt situation, no one. It's nonsense because no one cares. Right. And everyone sees through it. You cannot talk your way out of it. You cannot. I don't care what Chris Charlton is going to post. I don't care what Kevin Kelly is going to try and sell. I don't care. It is nonsense. The preposterous idea of Naito saying, okay, I want to go for the secondary belt. When if you beat the guy, you get the top belt. Like, it just makes, especially the guy who wanted the fucking double domes to begin with. So, okay, whatever. Look, again, I would have more respect if he just said, I find that belt really cool. Like, I just like it, and I like the fact that Shinsuke held it, and I like the fact that Ibushi held it. I like the fact that, not for nothing, my name has been kind of associated with it. So I'm going to fight for that belt, and just literally left it at that.
All right, sorry, I thought you were going to talk about Yuji Nagata a bit more there, but let's move on then. Andy says, do you think Tenzan's role as an overbearing father figure is leading to Watto turning on him, maybe even fitting in as the junior for Empire, seeing as they don't care for him? That's Tenzan either. So do you think, Tenzan is going to be used as a tool for Watto's eventual heel turn?
I mean, how do you turn that into a heel? Right? I mean, that seems... I don't know. Like, I know Tenzan is 107 years old, but his whole entire gimmick is being tough as nails, a bull, if you will. And I don't care if he's 106. that bull should beat Master Wato unless Master Wato has a machine gun and he's mowing down people. Like, that's the only way Master Wato should beat Tenzan. Again, if we're doing heavyweights versus juniors, look, would you give a single shit about a Master Wato Tenzan feud? No. Zero. No. I'm good.
Okay, sorry, baby activity going on. So, Markim says, when Naito wins the IC title, over on the chance of Ospreay coming out and attacking him.
I mean, he's going to be in the mix for the heavyweight title, and
yeah, I think the IC title it feels Naito Ospreay feels bigger than that. It feels like that's being saved for something.
Yeah, I don't think Intercontinental title is Ospreay's future.
Jackson says, is New Japan interested in any wrestlers from other companies? There must be at least 2 great guys in All Japan, Noah, Dragon Gate, that can shake things up. Now, obviously, the sort of the politics of Japanese wrestling dictates that people don't move freely between companies like that. The people that have moved from those companies to New Japan, the likes of Taiji Ishimori or Shingo Takagi, have sort of backdoored their way in by saying, like, oh, I'm going to be freelance now and work internationally, and oh, look, I've ended up in New Japan. So a direct jump from one of those companies to New Japan, I can't see it happening. I mean, maybe if one of those companies goes out of business, I don't know, All Japan's books if they're looking too healthy at the moment, but I would not expect to see any direct moves from one of those to New Japan.
Yeah. I mean, it's just... I mean, there's always been that kind of thing where people can work other shows. Like, we see Taichi on other, on shows, and we've seen El Desperado on shows, and we've seen Yuji Nagata hold, All Japan's tag straps. But, yeah, the idea of someone jumping ship, signing with New Japan, I mean, it's a little bit bigger of a deal when that happens. So, yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath for that. I'll tell you what. There was one guy that I was thinking of the other day, and right now he just seems like, speaking of Impact, he was just floundering around, and I really enjoyed his time in All Japan, and that's Joe Doring. Wouldn't Joe Doring be fucking pretty great in New Japan? I mean, I don't want a fantasy book here, but like, it just seems like that's a guy that might be, that's out there, that feels like a bit of a free agent. And now with an Impact relationship, like, that's one guy I would really love to see in New Japan.
We'll have a look at his cage match, actually, see what he's been doing recently.
Yeah. I think he's like in some faction in Impact. He's just a name that isn't really, nobody really talks about. But man, 2 or 3 years ago, this guy was fucking, people were looking at him.
Yeah, he's been working a few Impact matches this year. He had one match last year, and then his last All Japan match was Real World Tag League in December of 2019. So yeah, that would be, I think, a good addition. Japan and Japan in general, they like their big foreign hostile wrestlers. So interesting name thrown out there. I want to see Ayato Yoshida. I don't know what the fuck is going on there, but he looked so promising when he was in New Japan, and then I may have this completely wrong, but he's in exile because of Taka Michinoku, because Taka couldn't keep it in his pants. That's my understanding of it. Please do correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the way I saw it. But I would love to see him come back to New Japan in some capacity, but there you go. New Japan strong. We had JR Kratos squashing Jordan Clearwater. I want to see more of this, Damon. I like squash matches. Squash matches are fun. I said months ago that I wanted like a little monster run for one of these big dudes to build to a bigger match, and it looks like they're doing it now. I don't know if what they've got planned later down the road for JR Kratos, but they should be doing more of this, like making the monsters seem like monsters rather than pairing them off with other monsters where they seem normal sized by comparison. We had Bateman defeating Clark Connors. Very physical match. They're really laying into each other, taking some proper physical punishment. They're hurting each other. And I just found it interesting that Ren Narita beat Bateman, but Clark Connors didn't. So just, again, showing you that Clark is still a young lion and Ren Narita isn't, even if he still looks like one. And Narita did look good in the main event. So Maddie keeps handing me things. Does not respect the sanctity of the podcast there. Main event, there was a tag match with TJP and Ren Narita against Chris Dickinson and Danny Limelight, which was really good. I mean, the matches are always good on Strong. I thought it was noticeable for TJP eating the pin rather than Narita, so they are doing their best to establish that Narita is a proper wrestler now. He's one of the big boys, even though he's still dressed like a young lion, which I think is a problem. I would like to see some new gear, maybe a bit of a freshen up the gimmick a bit, but I'm looking forward to the singles match with Narita against a more heelish Chris Dickinson. So yeah, he should, I think, change it up a little bit, but good tag match. And yeah, always I think anything involving, I mean, you've got three veterans out there and then one relatively inexperienced wrestler, and yeah, just really good stuff there. So looking forward to seeing the singles match, and that's your New Japan Strong for this week.
Well, I do know that they did a bunch of tapings. I think it was yesterday, either yesterday or today. They're taping a whole new block, so I'm sure we'll get some news out of that relatively soon. But yeah, it was look, New Japan Strong. It's everyone's favorite.
Okay, some questions from the Discord then. Vase Collector says, what would you make of a Tanahashi versus Edge match?
What would I make of it? I mean,
would it be the greatest match ever? Would it be better or worse than Randy Orton versus Edge?
I think Edge is good. Do you think Edge is good? I think Edge is good. I think it'd be good. I mean, it would. I think it'd be really good. I mean, yeah, that's yeah.
Two very good pro wrestlers. They would go out and have a very good pro wrestling match. I'm sure.
Right. Yep. No doubt. And one's a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, so there you go.
How much is the Bullet Club intellectual property worth? Could you see AEW buying the rights? What kind of price tag and terms? No chance. Never going to happen. That is New Japan's cash cow.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, that would be. I think the price that New Japan would ask would be too high. And I think AEW would need to come with an offer that would be too. It's just no. It's just that it's not happening.
So I was trying to eat some roti. If New Japan does more talent exchanges with AEW, who from their roster would you think New Japan would gravitate towards in addition to Mox?
Mox, Kenny, Jericho. Cody. I think the names that you all already, everybody that you would assume they would gravitate toward.
Let me try some more. Pac,
sure.
Phoenix,
sure,
maybe Pentagon,
sure. Well, I mean, wait a minute. Are they AAA guys or are they?
Oh yeah, that's the point. If they're AAA, then there's no chance.
Yeah.
There was another guy. What's his name? Oh, the little fella.
Marcos.
Wears makeup on half of his face.
Oh, Darby.
Yeah, that's it. Darby Allin. I like him.
Yeah.
He's pretty good.
You like him? He's up your alley. You like doing little kick flips with him.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. I'll let him invest the Super Juniors. He's allowed.
He's allowed in.
Yeah.
Okay. How about Lance Archer?
Invest the Super Juniors. That'd be awesome. I'm not sure you'd have to cut a bit of wax. Really, just an emaciated Lance Archer. Really gorgeous.
He just makes weight.
These waves are killing me.
Oh God, that'd be hilarious. Oh my God, just skinny, just completely skinny, and I just made weight.
This pro is like, I've just been puking and shitting and pissing out every excess.
I have no water in my body whatsoever. I'm made out of sawdust at this point.
Is Will Ospreay the Jose Canseco of New Japan? Don't know what that means, Damon. Can you explain it for me?
I know who Jose Canseco is, but I don't know why he would be considered that. Like, I don't know the connection that this person's going. Who wrote that question?
Same,
Had to be
same
Nicole.
person, vase collector.
Oh, really?
I don't have any other more questions. Well, actually, I have one question that was sent direct to my DMs, and I don't know if it was intended to be discussed on the show, but it is quite an interesting one that I would like to discuss with you.
With me?
Yeah.
Are we airing dirty laundry on the fucking air?
No, it's quite a thoughtful one, I thought. So this is
okay.
from Joe. The last question here. When you and Damon disagreed on the Tai Chi Iron Fingers bit, and Damon laid into how much he hated it, even after you gave your thought-out praise of the match, did that hurt your feelings? I ask because I've been thinking about this kind of thing recently. If two buddies who like the same thing disagree on a facet of it, can they agree to disagree and leave it at that, or do feelings come into play? So my feelings weren't hurt at all because we disagreed about lots of stuff in the past. I think this podcast would be really boring if we did agree about everything. So I'm sure there have been other times where I've been really high on something that you haven't. No, I don't take that personally at all. I think that's part of the fun, isn't it? That people like different things. I don't know. What do you think, Damon? Have you ever had experiences where there's been something that you have really loved and then someone whose opinion you've respected has hated it and that's upset you at all?
I've had... So I'm going to give you two versions, if you don't mind, because, I got 25 minutes to kill. So in a real life scenario, I'm more disappointed when I learn about people in my life that have feelings about the world that really don't necessarily correlate with what I feel being a good human being is. And when I hear that from people that I like based off of other interests, that is when that hurts me personally. I will say that. And that's happened very recently. And it's so disappointing. Like, it's just like so... like, you don't know what to do with that. Like, you try to be an adult and you try to, but when you hear nutty shit, it stuns you. Like, it really just stuns you, and you find yourself trying to figure out how to deal with that moving forward. And I still haven't 100% come to grips with it, how this is going to be addressed. So that's one part. So when it comes to disagreements with that, that's harder for me. Pro wrestling, no. I mean, I've said 1,000 times that if I were going to do a show post Purecast, that I needed to have someone who made me think differently, that made me, again, just to sit here and agree on everything and circle jerk all day long, to me, sounds incredibly boring.
That is like 90% of the podcast we've had.
But then there's the times that we don't. Again, one of the great things about this podcast is the awakening for me of a guy like Tai Chi, or just understanding points. I may not always agree with it, and I might not always come to that side and be like, "Yep, I'm a fan of that style of wrestling," but if anything, what that does is it gives me a greater appreciation for people to enjoy the same product I am for different reasons. Look, I was the asshole music snob who, if you didn't like these bands, you're a fucking idiot. And blah, 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 blah. And my worst fights and my worst evenings were over that nonsense. Like whatever the fuck you like. Who cares? And no one cares what I like. Who cares? Like, you know what I mean? Like you like what you like it. I don't give a fuck. It gave me this show gave me it opened my eyes to a completely new audience that I never would have even known existed, to be frank, that follows the same product, watches the same matches, and enjoys it just as much as I do for completely different reasons. And if the show ended tomorrow, that would be one of the greatest pluses of doing the Super J Cast. How's that?
Great. Brilliant. I'm touched that Super J Cast has brought such a well-rounded appreciation of the product for you, Damon. I mean, you're looking at other outside of wrestling. Are there any other? I'm thinking of a time when Mally and I used to watch movies together. Obviously, that that doesn't happen now. When I showed her The Exorcist, which I thought is one, I love The Exorcist. I think it's a very scary film. And she just laughed all the way through it. She was just like chuckling at the what I thought was some of the scariest scenes. And I was really disappointed. I was like, I thought you were going to be horrified at this, because Thai people sort of are into ghost stories and things like that. I was like, yeah, this one's really going to fuck her up. But she was just no-sold it completely and just mocked me. Going, Joel thought this is the scariest film ever. It was ridiculous. It's this little girl, and then this happens. So, yeah, there have been moments like that where, or if I've recommended a book or a song or something to someone, I think, they really like this, and they've been like, not really my cup of tea. Where they've been like, that's a shame. It doesn't hurt my feelings, but it can be a bit deflating when you're like, and it's less of the fact that they didn't like the thing you liked. It's more for me, like, maybe I don't know this person as well as I thought.
Yeah, I didn't give them the joy that I thought it was going to bring them. Yeah, I know. I get. Music for me. Like, there'll be bands now that I'll be like, oh my God, you got to listen to this band. And it's, it just goes over like a wet fart. And it's like, I thought you would really like it. Or a Christmas gift. Like, usually, I would say, I am a real good Christmas gift giver. Like, I really am. Now, for the most part, we have a list. Like, we don't play the fuck. Like, I have a buddy who, his wife won't give him a list. He's got to, like, guess right, or there's fucking heat in the house. And I was like, I can't live like that. That's nonsense. That's ridiculous. We have a list. Here's a list. What do you want? I'll get it. But then we have the right to stray off the list for a couple of things, right? I hit home runs every fucking time. Every fucking time. Well, I can't say every time, but these times, like, there was like one or two times in all my years where I swung and missed, and you knew it. Like, you could just see the fake. Oh, I really love it, and you're like, you don't really love it, do you? And it's like, well, it's not really, and it's like, fuck. And you build it up in your head like, I think I nailed this one too. Nope, shit the bed. So that has happened once or twice. But, yeah, I mean, for us, no. I mean, sometimes I'd like the fact that you challenge me to think differently. So, no, I don't. And our listeners challenge me to think differently. Now, again, there's cases where there are people that are just fucking assholes, and I'm just like, even if you came to me with the greatest argument in the world, I don't like the way that you came, so go fuck yourself. Yes, I still am that dumb, dopey guy that thinks that way. But, like, if we have a conversation, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I want that challenge to a large degree.
And on the flip side, sometimes there have been matches where I thought, this has been fucking shit. I hate this match. Me and Damon are probably going to argue about this, and you've hated it as well. So that's been a little bit of a disappointment. Like, but then we have fun burying it together. So it works out in the end for us. So There we go. There's your Super J Cast for this week. It's very noisy outside, so I'm going to call it a day. They're redcircle.com/shows/super-j-cast if you want to give us some money for all the great content we provide you with. Very much appreciated. Discord link is in the show notes at Cobra Kawaii and prowrestlingtees.com/super-j-cast if you want to buy one of our t-shirts.
What's she doing?
She's singing the Grand Old Duke of York outside the bedroom. Can you
get her a live? Can we get a live concert before you close?
Mally?
Yeah, please.
Mally?
Please.
Mally one. Come in here. Damon wants you on the podcast.
What
do you want her to do, Damon?
I would love the song. I like a
sing
rendition.
the Grand Old Duke of York for us, please, for the listeners.
Oh, the Grand Old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill and they marched him down again. When the up there, when the down, when the holy happy,
Yay! Brilliant.
I mean,
A B C D E F G H
ahead.
I J.
She's going rogue now.
nice. Yeah, I know. She's going for an encore. All right, somebody get the hook. Pull her up stage. Somebody gong her.
So, thanks, Editor Dan. You can find on Twitter at LazzyHero219. Subscribe to the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network for other great shows. Give us a 5-snake review on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at the SuperJcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and goodbye.
When's the last time you looked at your bathroom? Second thought, you might not want to make eye contact with that old faucet. It's time to head to Lowe's for some home improvement. Choose from stylish brands like American Standard, Delta, and Style Selections, and transform your before bathroom into an amazing after bathroom. Woohoo! You can't see her, but she's high-fiving herself. Don't just do it yourself. Do it for yourself. Stop by Lowe's or visit lowes.com/DIFY for vanities starting at $99. Valid through 3/31 U.S. only.